What does it take for a single moment to unravel a lifetime of secrets? In the quiet town of Willow Creek, where the hum of cicadas filled the summer air, that question hung heavy one fateful evening. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over Main Street, when the flashing lights of police cruisers shattered the calm. A crowd gathered, phones raised, capturing the scene. Two officers dragging an elderly black man from his rusted sedan, his hands cuffed, his face etched with defiance. His name was Samuel Carter, a man whose weathered features told stories no one in Willow Creek had ever bothered to ask about. At 72, he moved slowly, his frame slight but unyielding, even as the officers barked orders. "Get out now," one shouted, yanking Samuel's arm. The crowd murmured, some in shock, others in anger, as the scene unfolded. To them, it was another injustice, another moment of brutality caught on camera. But Samuel's eyes held something deeper, a calm that didn't match the chaos. The officers, young and tense, didn't notice the glint beneath his jacket. They didn't see the weight of his silence. They pushed him against the car, their voices sharp, accusing him of running a stop sign, of resisting. The crowd grew louder, their phones streaming live to the world. "Let him go," someone yelled. Samuel's gaze swept over them, not pleading, but waiting. He knew what was coming. Then, a twist no one expected. A woman pushed through the crowd, her voice cutting through the noise. "Stop. You don't know who he is." She was Clara, the town's librarian, her glasses fogged with emotion. Clara, who had known Samuel for decades, who had seen him slip into the library at dusk, reading history books in silence. She clutched a faded photograph, her hands trembling. "He's not just some old man," she said, her voice breaking. The officers paused, confused, as Clara held up the photo, a young Samuel in a crisp uniform, a badge gleaming on his chest. The crowd fell silent. The officers exchanged glances. Samuel, still cuffed, finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "Check my jacket." Hesitant, one officer reached inside and pulled out a worn leather wallet. Inside, a badge polished, official, bearing the seal of the FBI. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones zoomed in, the live feed exploding with comments. "Retired Special Agent Samuel Carter," he said, his words carrying the weight of years unspoken. "Served 35 years. Undercover. Civil rights cases." The officers stepped back, their faces paling. Clara's voice filled the silence, recounting how Samuel had risked his life in the 1960s, infiltrating hate groups, protecting communities like Willow Creek from the shadows. He had chosen to stay after retirement, living quietly, never seeking recognition. The photograph she held showed him at a march, standing guard, his eyes fierce with purpose. The crowd, once angry, now stood in awe. Some wept. Others whispered apologies. Samuel's cuffs were removed, but he didn't move. He looked at the officers, not with anger, but with a quiet challenge. "You saw my skin, not my story," he said. The words landed like a stone in still water, rippling through the crowd. The younger officer, barely 25, stammered an apology, but Samuel raised a hand. "Don't apologize. Learn." He turned to the crowd, their phones still recording, and spoke directly to them. "This town, this world needs to see past fear, past color, past assumptions." The live feed spread, reaching thousands, then millions. By morning, Samuel's story was everywhere: news outlets, social media, even the steps of City Hall, where the mayor issued a public apology. But Samuel didn't want the spotlight. He returned to his small house, where Clara brought him coffee and sat with him in silence. "Why didn't you tell them sooner?" she asked. Samuel smiled faintly. "Sometimes, people need to see the truth for themselves." Willow Creek changed that day. The town, once divided by whispers and mistrust, began to really talk. Community meetings formed, led by Clara, to honor Samuel's legacy and confront the biases that had surfaced. The officers, humbled, enrolled in training, their perspective shifted. And Samuel? He remained the same, quiet, watchful, a guardian in the shadows. What does it take for a moment to change a town? Sometimes it's a badge. Sometimes it's a man who carries the weight of history with grace. And sometimes it's a community willing to listen when the truth finally shines.